Okay, welcome back to Bounce Around Charleston. Okay, tonight we have a wonderful guest, Bishop Samuel Lawrence Green Sr. He's the presiding prelate of the 7th Episcopal District of the AME Church for the state of South Carolina. Bishop Green, welcome to Bounce Around Charleston.
Good evening, and thank you for having me, Reverend Miller. We're glad to be a part of this show tonight.
Bishop Green, there's a lot going on since the pandemic. Churches have been closed, and you have directed the vision as to what we should be doing during this pandemic. So, where do we stand at this hour?
Well, in the midst of, I guess you can say, coming toward the end of 2020 and the beginning of a brand new year, we still have a pandemic going on in our nation and a pandemic within our own state. With just today over 2,300 persons, new cases of COVID-19 and 4 additional deaths, that makes a total of about 4,400 to 4,500 persons who have died since COVID-19 has affected this nation, affected the state of South Carolina. Our people are still one of the most vulnerable people when it comes down to contracting this virus. So right now, where we are now is in the protection and the attempt to keep as many people happy and to keep as many people from being one of the over 1,000 persons in the hospital from COVID-19, over 100 persons in ICU, and the number of persons who are on a ventilator. So our goal as religious leaders or faith leaders is to protect our congregants, because as you gather in mass crowds, as you know, even when persons gather doing their family activities over Thanksgiving weekend, there was a spike. And if churches come back together now, it will continue to spike, and we will continue to spread this virus before we can all get vaccinated, and before we all can get to a place where we have herd immunity in South Carolina, that we will be safe and healthy to go back to our churches.
But you brought up a very valuable point, because there are some churches that have gone back already, and then they tend to think that those of us who have not gone back, that there's something wrong. What do you say about that?
The only thing wrong is that we are being wise, we are being prudent, and we are being responsible for the lives of the people God has entrusted into our hands to shepherd. And those who feel that is a question of a lack of faith, I think that's erroneous and that's fundamental. But I believe that it is a lack of it's a lack of being without the facts and without science, and living without the data and living without the reality that people are dying on a daily basis. I've known persons to go back to church, and they have had infections within their congregation. Persons have been infected in the congregation. They go home, they infect their families, and that's just too much risk, when God has also provided an opportunity for His Word and for ministry to still go forth, even if we're not in a building, congregating in a closed environment, spreading the spores and spreading the opportunity to expose people to a virus that could take their lives. I want to expose them to Jesus Christ. I don't want to expose them to a health risk that will cause their vessels to be compromised, cause their vessels to be in a place where they cannot continue to fulfill the assignment upon their lives. So for me, those who are going back to church, and those churches, who are back in the building, that's their leaders' prerogative. But for me, I believe the best way forward is to wait until it is safer and the conditions are better for us to congregate in the place, because I don't want us to congregate and then have to shut down. I don't want us to congregate, persons get infected. And one life just one life that is infected or one life gone because of COVID-19 is one too many lives that we have put in jeopardy and lost. And so there are too many families who will be sitting around the table right here in South Carolina this Christmas. As a matter of fact, 4,400 families will be sitting around the table this Christmas with an empty chair because of this virus. And I don't want to see another family go through that traumatic moment in their lives because of what I believe irresponsibility and being cavalier about this deadly disease that's before us.
Okay, you said something else that really hit home. We're in the season of Advent. It's the Christmas season. It's the holiday season. Christmas trees, Christmas lights, Christmas gifts, singing Christmas carols. This has always been a wonderful time and celebration for the church. So what are you telling churches to do to make sure that their congregants are still happy and enjoying this season?
Well, there are platforms that we can gather on, Zoom, for one, WebEx, conference calls. We can still do our carols and we can still sing our Christmas songs. We can still rejoice. And even if we want to do caroling, if we are social distance, 6 feet apart, we're outside, we have our mask on, we can still have caroling. We can still sing those Christmas songs. Having Christmas now in a safe way will give you an opportunity to have Christmas in the future with your families and every person sitting around the table. So as long as we are practicing safe CDC standards as it relates to what we're doing, I just know that this Christmas we should not gather in large family functions. This Christmas, we should only gather with persons who live within the home. As a matter of fact, I've had friends who had a big Thanksgiving, and one particular family, they had 22 people over for Thanksgiving, and all 22 of them were infected. And so all I'm trying to suggest to our churches, we can continue to celebrate the joy of Jesus and remember that the joy of Christmas is about a birth and not about a death. So let's try to do everything we can to birth new joy and new excitement in this Christmas season, even with these virtual platforms in the midst of this pandemic that we're in.
Bishop Green, we thank you for being on Bounce Around Charleston. Thank you, sir. And we'll be right back.